Maybe fourth time will be the charm today. Do you can see that? Okay. Mm, like going live 5 times today. Oh, I wonder if that's her. Hey, is that you? I'm not sure if that's you. It's okay if it is. Maybe I can add you like this. Oh, no, 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 no. Never mind. I thought that was one. Okay, sorry. I thought you were my cat. Uh, Man, I really want to talk about this, you guys. And things just don't want you to be great sometimes. But that's okay. I appreciate you guys for rocking with me. Right. This is not happening right now. I don't understand. I don't know what's going on. Oh, okay. Cool. Nice. All right. Now I'm gonna add you. I see you. I'm gonna request you right now. Okay, got you. I'm gonna request you. Okay, can you see that? I just invited you, Jennifer. A a button should come up. Okay. This is so strange. I just asked you. Oh, this is a sign. Get off Instagram. I just go live. Oh no. Fine. Yay.
Finally.
Oh man,
Oh,
Jennifer.
good grief. You
This
would
is
think we would have an easier time than what we have been doing. I am
it's
so sorry for that.
oh no, it's okay. It's just like sometimes when you're trying to do great stuff, technology's like, no, you're not gonna do
Yeah,
that.
it's just like, oh, you want to do this thing? Something you saw somebody else do
Right.
so easily like last week? No, no, we're just going to make it a
Mm-mm.
thousand times more difficult.
Right. It's not happening. Well, thank you so much for being here with me. I appreciate this. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Yes, me too.
Yes, yes, indeed. Okay. Well, I met Jennifer at my last and final 9 to 5. I will continue to work on that. But yes, Jennifer is an awesome person. I met her and I honestly, and she knows I didn't wanna talk to her at work and stuff because she had to train me and I was over it. She knew from the jump. But
Train you as well as what I heard from other coworkers of certain people going around saying that we I knew them better than anything else, and so there was hesitation there. So, but yeah,
Yeah, she's awesome. I just found out that we were a lot alike. The only thing that is different is that she's white and lives on the other side of America, not this side.
I live in the middle of the country. If you throw a dart at the map and hit Omaha, there I am.
Yes, she is so awesome. So tell us more about yourself and where.
Uh, I have been working with the company that Tamika left, sadly, for 2 years. I've lived in Nebraska for 5 years. I'm married. I've been married to my husband for just a little over 17 years. And we have one dog, an Australian Kelpie named Nibbler.
Mm, yeah, she's awesome. She's not going to talk about her art, but she
I
can.
knit and I crochet. That's
There you
the thing
go.
I do. I'm currently working on a scarf for a friend of mine. So that's what I'm going to work on while you're doing your awesome painting and we chat.
But okay, guys, like leave a comment in the chat. Like that looks like something you would get out the store. Like I don't know. That's amazing. All these things that she shows me, I'm like, you made that by hand. Like the patience that you have to
And
do
there are other
these
people who knit and crochet like I do, and I have the exact same response of, you made that?
things.
And you made that in like 3 months where it would take me 3 years just to get about halfway through? That's insane.
Yes. Well, you're an awesome artist. Thank you for being here once again. And we're gonna get into it. So we're
Perfect.
gonna talk about creativity and mental health. Oh, someone's asking if you have a website.
I do not have a website.
All right. Well, we're working on that. That's all right. We're working on it.
My dream goal is to make my own yarn, like get it straight from a farm, dye it, all of that, and have a website for that. But that is quite a few years away before I'm able to get to that point. But that's sort of my long term desire would be to get to that.
Yeah, that would sell like hotcakes. I'm telling you, like it'd be awesome. I can't wait. I'm excited for it for sure. So, do you think we've talked about this so many times before? Do you think that you have to be just even a teensy bit mad to be creative?
I don't think you have to be mad to be creative. I think it can bring out something that in someone else who doesn't have that same wiring in their brain
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be able to bring out. Just like your art is amazing, I couldn't do that, but with the knitting and the crocheting, it's
Yeah.
just it's how our brains are wired, I think. So everybody's a little bit mad, and however it comes out creatively, I think is how it is. And coffee sales, I love your name. I am a coffee hound. I love coffee. So
Yes. Hey, Edwin. Yeah, he's pretty cool. So, do you think mental illness allows people to be more creative, or
I think it allows for wiring to be in the brain in such a way that it makes it more easier for people to be creative. I think anybody can be creative. It just some people might have to work at it harder.
yeah? Okay. I guess I can see that. Sometimes a lot of people that I try to get to draw, like a lot of my family members and friends, they're always like, well, I can't even really do a stick figure. But that's really how I start all my drawings. Like for people, I just start whatever way they're going, just little stick figures. But it's definitely different mental blocks that I go through as well. So I can understand that.
And I've had the same thing with trying to teach people to knit and crochet. It's my
Hmm.
hands don't work the same way yours do. And when
Right.
I first learned, my hands didn't work the same way that watching somebody on a YouTube video or somebody sitting next to me doing it
Hmm.
would do it. So it's been um, interesting to be like, here's how I do it, and then
Hmm.
seeing how someone else interprets how I do it to learn it themselves.
Right. Yeah, it's always fun to see how other people can put their spin on things because you're right. Like, we're not really teaching someone. Well, I don't really go into teaching someone or helping someone with art thinking like, oh, they better draw like me. Like, no, I like it. I like to see what you're gonna do. Like,
Yes.
I always think like you can't really teach anyone how to draw or whatever. Like, maybe I can guide you, like I put this over here or whatever, but I can't really I feel like there's not really a wrong way to do it. Like maybe shading or something like that. But even with that, like you choose where the light comes from. Like if I decide it's gonna be dark over here, my drawing's gonna be dark over there. And nobody
Yeah.
can tell me that's not, where the light's coming from. So it's just different ways of thinking. So yeah. So I personally believe that art has saved my life time and time again. Do you think that creativity actually improves your health and how?
I do, because it gives you a way to work through whatever you're going through.
Yeah.
Um, I think this may be part of another question that you have, but when my father was
Mm-hmm.
diagnosed with cancer, it helped me to sit and create, crochet and create the blanket that I made him and go through, and it helped me learn more about him. I learned his favorite
Mm-hmm.
place to go fishing. I learned the um, his favorite place to go to vacation. So I learned more about him doing that than I would have without taking the time and working through those emotions that way.
Yeah. I definitely think you're right. It's helped me to work through different stuff as well. Like sometimes I can't even express or speak about how I'm feeling, and I'll just grab a piece of paper, and the next thing you know, I've been drawing for an hour, like just sitting there, and I'm like, oh man, I didn't even think I had anything to really say or draw, but obviously I did. Something I needed to let go of, and even not. Sometimes it's not even me being upset. Like sometimes um, I'm really happy about things, so I might want to paint or whatever. But I think my art is better when I'm upset. Like when I'm working through shit, like I really think I get out some of my best stuff. Like those have been some of my best pieces that, people resonate with or like, oh, I really like that one or whatever. Like other things are like, kind of cutesy. Like I've done like a few yoga poses with different like drink heads, like martinis and all types of alcohol. People think that's cute, but really, when I draw things like pills falling on the table or whatever, people are like, "Oh man, I feel that." And I'm like, okay, well, I was really going through some shit, so I'm glad.
And
I
I
guess.
and I do see a lot of that. Not necessarily with like knitting and crocheting,
Mm-hmm.
but you can see people working through like the loss of someone because there was one person who chronicled the journey of her making a photorealistic blanket
Mm-hmm.
for her aunt and uncle when her uncle got diagnosed with cancer, and you could see her sort of working through that as she sort of uploaded her progress for it. And I do think
Mm-hmm.
that when you're angry, when you're upset, people respond more to that because I think generally people tend to be more that way than happy go lucky. So they can see that and be like, oh, yeah, I've been there. I know that
Mm-hmm.
angry red slash because I've been there before versus, happy green
Hmm.
apple blanket. So,
But see, sometimes I feel like that too. So,
yeah.
that's why color is necessary and things like that. Just you got to get some of that in there. But you're right. Like it definitely helps you to connect to people more. Like that's interesting that you mentioned about your dad, and I'm glad that he's doing much better.
Yes.
My dad, he passed away from cancer, and for it's interesting that you mentioned like connections with art because for the latter part of his life, like he was always so like, I'm not hurt, I got it, like it's all right, I'm okay. Like his toe could be falling off. He's not gonna tell you he's not, okay. But I noticed like after a while, like he stopped really like calling me or whatever because he couldn't lie to me. So he didn't want to tell me what was going on. So yeah, when I found out he had stage 4 cancer and stuff, stage 4 lung cancer, it was just like, okay, well, first of all, why didn't you tell me? And then I was just so mad at myself because I didn't do anything. I really hadn't been able to spend as much time as I wanted to because of my mental health and stuff with him before he passed and everything. So I was just so upset. And I'm like, man, I've just been trying to, focus on these dreams and draw and all this shit is stupid. Like, I just lost my dad anyway. So it didn't matter. Like, me just trying to hurry up and help him and whatever, it didn't really matter. And then, like, I was still mad at myself until I moved into my new apartment. And then like my mom gave me a bunch of like a folder. And I was just like, okay, why'd you give me all this stuff? But anyway, so I was looking through the stuff and it was a yellow folder filled with all the art I had done while I was in the hospital. And I was like, wow, he kept all this stuff. So you never know like what you're doing and how important it is or what's making someone else smile. So definitely the connections that art has brought in my life and kept growing in my life is amazing. Definitely.
I do have a general mantra for my life, which is you never know what someone's going through,
Mhm.
and a little bit of kindness can change everything for them. And that I genuinely try to live that way.
Mhm.
It's interesting that you had a yellow folder. I have photos of my father wearing one of the hats that I made him while he was going through his treatments.
Mhm.
So, and it fills you with a, okay, even though I'm not there, I know that he knows I love him.
Yeah.
And that's it. At the end of the day, that's a very nice sort of thing to be able to go back and look at.
Yeah. Definitely. For sure. I totally agree. How do you push past your emotions? Okay, let me ask you this first. Have your emotions ever been so overwhelming that you don't want to even sit down and create or you can't contain like how do you push past that and just do it?
It depends on what where the that burnout feeling is coming from. If it's work
Mhm.
related, if it's outside of creating related, 9 times out of 10, just sitting down and crocheting or knitting or even watching a YouTube video of someone who inspires me, who
Right.
I generally get that feeling of, yes, I want to do something,
Mhm.
helps. If I'm getting burnt out on a project, I'll either start a new project, which is why if you would ask anybody who knits or crochets, they have like a dozen projects
Yeah.
because inevitably it's either, ooh, this is pretty, I want to work on this, or I'm burnt out on this project and I need to take a step away from it.
Yeah.
Not to say that I haven't literally chunked a project and threw it in the trash because I was so aggravated by it and completely started over. So it just
Mhm.
depends on where the burnout's happening
Mhm.
and what'll help sort of ease me into being like, okay, let me sit down and actually work on something.
Yeah. That's funny how you say you would just throw it away. Like, yeah, sometimes I'll definitely get tired of stuff and just ball it up or just maybe put it in the corner and don't even touch it till years later or whatever. And yeah, sometimes that's okay because you needed it at that
Yep.
point in time. Now you can move on to something else. But I
And
used
it
to, go ahead.
and it's also one of those things, if you're getting held up on one particular spot, you
Yeah,
don't understand it,
there you
you're
go.
painting
Yep.
something and you're not sure how to make it this
Mhm.
way that you have in your brain. Sometimes taking a step away for
Mhm.
a week, 6 months, a year, a couple of years, and then
Yep.
coming back flips that switch.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's interesting to see that, because I've had that happen with projects before where I got furious and chunked it across the room, and I'm like, I don't understand this, I don't understand, like,
Right.
mad, and then come back to it like 2 weeks later, and it was, I was misreading the instructions, but I was so mad
Right.
that I didn't see that. So
Sometimes you're right. You got to take a step back and give yourself a minute, get a different perspective on it, go at it with a fresh mind. Maybe take a nap.
yep.
Do it again. Yeah, definitely. That I used to be so hard on myself about not finishing just one painting or whatever. I'm like, oh, you got all these other paintings, all these other drawings. Don't you dare start that one. Like, I'm like, well, I'm holding myself hostage. Like, you can draw so many more things. Like, just draw. That's crazy. It's
Yep.
ridiculous. But we do it all the time. So it's very hard sometimes to just push past your own stuff and just do it. But it's worth it. It is.
It is.
So with that being said, how would you define flow for you?
Flow for me is the pressure is gone. I
Hmm.
don't feel like there's a deadline I have to meet. I don't feel like there's any outside metric I've got to meet, so to speak, to complete this. It is all me just being able to sit and just zone out and work. And whether that's like knitting a shawl or crocheting a blanket or a scarf, just being able to sit and zone out and be content. That's flow for me.
Yeah,
What about
definitely.
you?
I agree. I feel like it's the time when I just get to paint or draw, listen to music. Like I love lo-fi and like a bunch of club music and stuff. Like just trippy music. Like I love it. Like just blasting it, turning my lights on, and just drawing for hours, letting time get away. Just yeah, that's my jam. I love that. That's flow for me. And when I can have some good food and like keep doing, keep
Yep.
creating, then I'm good. Then I'm straight. And when I can find good people and good energy to create around, like talking to you right now is making me feel at ease to do this. Like I haven't drawn on this show like ever, so this is pretty awesome. So thank you.
Good.
Yeah, definitely. So I've just been painting, but I haven't. I've been trying to get back into drawing more people and like technical things and illusions and stuff again. I just once again been holding myself hostage, like, oh, what if it's not as good as before or whatever, and so yeah. So thanks. So, do you think that, I think we touched on this a little bit. Do you think that creativity can be used as a tool for treating people with mental health issues or anyone who's dealing with anxiety or anything like that?
I do. I think it, being able to be creative and have an outlet for whatever you're going through is always a good thing. Whether it's painting, like the painting you did with the pills,
Mm-hmm.
and that, amazing. I in
Mm-hmm.
it's being able to have that outlet to be able to draw what's in your brain that you can't necessarily say, and especially with things like anxiety, it can be
Hmm.
very hard to pinpoint where the anxiety is coming from.
Yeah. Mm.
Sometimes it is just, I'm anxious. I
Yeah.
I'm just anxious and I'm that way. Is there is no reason to be anxious. Like, my husband's healthy, my dog's healthy, I'm healthy, family's healthy,
Yeah.
but for some reason my brain's like, "Oh, we need to stress about this thing." And it's
Mm.
sometimes you just want to tell your brain to shut up, and sometimes just being able to sit down and get creative and can help shut that part of your brain off to be like,
Yeah.
okay, things are fine.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely another reason why I do it. Like you said, just to quiet my mind because it's always racing like a mile a minute. Like I could just be sitting here and just, yeah, I'm thinking about what I'm gonna pack for lunch tomorrow. Like it's just, it's not because I don't want to focus on what's happening. It's like why are you thinking of these things?
It's either what am I going to make for dinner, or it's let's stress about this possible thing that
What
might happen, which in all realities is not ever going to
happened?
happen. But my
Never
brain is
happened.
like, oh, we need to mentally prepare
Yeah.
for that inevitability.
Yeah,
And then we need to obsess about it. So
definitely.
it's either one of those two things. I'm either obsessed about what am I going to do for lunch tomorrow? What am I going to do for dinner? What about what if this thing at work happens?
Right.
And
Right.
then it's also, well, what if this abstract thing happens? And it's
Yeah.
like, dinosaurs are never gonna come
Right.
up from the ground and roam the planet. Like,
Yeah,
you
right.
can stop with that brain.
Right. And then it's just I've really been trying to train myself to be like, okay, you can think good things, right? Like you can think good thoughts, but it's just so I guess it's hard because I keep telling myself it's hard. But it is just difficult for me sometimes to just be like, all right, think positive. Like I would literally just like you said, just make up stuff like, okay, I'm gonna like the other day, I've been starting riding the bike more with my husband, and he will tell you I'll get like really shaky on certain parts. Like we have this huge hill, and it's a bike trail, so I'm not gonna fall off it or anything. But I'm like, oh, that part of the hill is over there. Like I could definitely fall off and roll over there, right? So I'm just like, just don't like stopping myself, and then I go slower. Then I get off the bike. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is definitely a representation of like everything. Like it was ridiculous. I wouldn't go down the hill. Like I was walking down. I was like, okay, no, I'm gonna do this today. I just rode down the hill. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. 30 years old. I'm afraid of riding down a hill on a bike. This is crazy. Crazy. So yes, your mind be playing tricks. That's all
Yep.
I'm saying. You
Yep.
playing tricks for sure.
And my brain would do the exact same thing. And I've told my husband before that whenever your brain starts thinking that way, you if you have somebody to talk to,
Mm-hmm.
fantastic. If you don't,
Yeah.
then learning techniques, if you're able to be able to
Mm-hmm.
go, okay, I see that ant hill over there, and for some reason my brain goes, that's Mount Everest that I have to climb. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, no, it's an ant hill. But it's learning to differentiate
Mm-hmm.
what is really in front of you versus what your brain is telling you, which can
Mm-hmm.
be very, very difficult because brains are very powerful when it comes time to just make you obsess and stress.
Right. Definitely. It's right. It's easier said than done, but you're right. It's all about like we said again, taking a step back, just looking at like,
Yep.
okay, am I overreacting? Is this really happening? Because you can make certain things happen, I believe as well, with your brain. It's a fact. So if you sitting there obsessing over this bad shit, you're gonna get some bad stuff. Maybe not exactly what you was thinking of, but
Yep.
so yeah. Might as well think of some good stuff. Do you think it can be used for things like dementia?
I do think so. I've seen like videos of people who were suffering with dementia
Yeah.
who have been shown like videos of when they were younger and they were dancing and they
Hmm.
remembered like the hand movements and some of the like dance steps and things like that, or singing or anything like that. And I
Hmm.
do think it can help them create that link from a past that they can no longer reliably remember.
Yeah, I totally agree. That I think that art therapy and musical therapy are one of the most powerful tools I've seen in the mental health field. Like they don't there's when I first started going to um college in 2010, art therapy was like a joke. People weren't talking about that. Like they're like, no, this isn't science. You can't really do that. But now it's like one of the most in demand fields. Yada yada yada. So that and musical therapy. But I've really seen people like you said just change completely from hearing a song that they used to love and drawing a certain way or having a certain tool in their hand that they used to use back then. Like it definitely helps. It jogs some different things. So it's a lot we can't explain, I think.
I
Definitely.
agree. Brains are a very mysterious, immaterial thing that I think the more we can learn about it, the better we can be for people who are going through any type of mental issues.
Hmm. Definitely. I agree. Do you Okay, so as a creative, has it ever been a battle for you to actually share your art with others or what you're working on? How do you fight that?
I tend to not necessarily share a lot of my artwork. I'll occasionally, or my projects, I'll occasionally put them out for other people other than like family to see.
Hmm.
Um, and I think the main thing that, and I think it's, I know this is my own issue, is I'll see fantastic work done by other people and then it's like, oh well, this is just a silly little scarf, who's going to want to
Hmm.
see that, who's going to want to like be wowed by it, when
Hmm.
every day there are people who come on and post, hey, I just learned how to do this, and all of the,
Hmm.
and it's getting over my own self to be more comfortable with going, hey, I actually did this and I'm proud of it, instead of being like, oh, this thing, no, no, it's fine, it's not anything
Yeah.
important.
Hmm. I go through the exact same thing. Like, oh, Sally Sue down the street is doing this thing too. Nobody wants Tamika's whatever. Like, and yeah, definitely get in our own way so much. Like,
Yeah.
because I know it's so easy for people, or I even say it to myself sometimes, like, well, it doesn't matter. It's not a you. Like, they don't have you and stuff. But they're like, all right, don't tell me that. Like, I know, I know. There's a million other people out here doing this shit though.
Yeah.
Who's gonna care about mine? And just go down the rabbit hole. Definitely, definitely happens. So it's really, it is it is tough. Like when I sold my first art piece, I I'm pretty sure I sold it for like a lot less than the materials I had used on it. Just that alone. And then the time. So I'm sure I sold it for like $50. I made a custom frame for it and everything. Like it was it was great. Yeah.
And
Like
that is
yeah.
something I worry about with like making stuff to sell to people is
Mhm.
my time, the materials, all of this. Like I would want to sell it for like this scarf, if I was going to sell it, I'd want to sell this for $25
Yeah.
minimum. But you're going to have a Mary who wants to buy it for $5 because they can go
Right.
to Walmart and get a similar scarf for $5. And
Yeah.
it's prevented me from going down that path of actually making stuff to sell.
Mhm.
So I tend to make stuff for people and just give it to them rather than be like, hey, here's my stuff, let's try to sell it.
Right. I understand. And that's a. Do you think that women battle with that more, or guys?
I think it can be both, but I think this may be just my viewpoint, but with women, it is more difficult to haggle. So if you have a guy, if you have somebody going, oh, I like that painting, I see you
Mhm.
want to have somebody pay $300 for it, I'll pay you 150. It's especially for me, it's difficult to go, well, my time was, I spent this long on it. This is the cost of the materials. This is how much I'm making after all of that.
Mhm.
And because I'm very much a people pleaser, so I'm the person who'll be like, oh,
Me
you
too.
want to pay $5 for this scarf that I originally had for $25? Okay. And then I'll kick myself that night going, dang it, I could have waited for somebody who's willing to pay the cost I wanted for it.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. I deal with that. I struggle with that a lot. I'm trying to get back into selling my art. And it's been a struggle. And I was listening to something the other day that was saying women make, like, if they're selling something, they're gonna price it as how they feel. They're gonna price it at how they feel rather than what it's actually worth. So if you're feeling like shit that day, you're more likely to sell a painting or a scarf at like $50 rather than like, okay, I'm off my bullshit right now. I'm gonna sell this for $500 or whatever. Fuck what that person thinks or whatever, because somebody out here is gonna buy it. You just
yeah,
gotta find it.
somebody will see the value in it. And I like, people are saying set it for over 100 and haggle down, or 20 over. That's a good option to do, but it just, if I'm going to sell something, I want to sell it for the price that I have it and not
Yeah.
worry about trying to haggle to get it within that price range, which I know seems like,
No, that's what you want. That's what you want. Like, and a lot of us step back on what we want because we're like, yeah, that doesn't seem right. Like, like I don't know how much scarves should cost or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So you could tell me like this should be $200. I'm like, all right, cool, bet I'm gonna pay you $200. I don't know. You see what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
until you're like, oh well, it may seem. And I did the same thing with Rob earlier. We were talking about something and he was like, well, you don't want backtracking. Like, I didn't say anything. Like, I'm not, you're making up all this stuff. Like, I was going to go along with it. But now I'm second guessing, like, do I really want to do that too? So, yeah, we definitely just cut our own,
yep.
you just cut ourselves at the knees for real. Like,
What's the
definitely.
phrase? Cut our nose off to spite our face. Just,
Right.
yeah, I'll cut my nose off to spite my face if it's so. But it has been one of those things. I've thought about selling things. I've thought about opening up a shop and
Mm-hmm.
selling yarn and selling like crafting books and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things where it's like we went and talked to someone and she's has to do 2.5 times what she
Oh wait, I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
You had that it's that little to be able to hang on. I do apologize. My phone is
No problem.
deciding that it wants to be charged, and now I got to find my charger for it.
Yeah, that's it, babe. Yeah.
Okay. And it is charging, so we can continue talking.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So I understand. It is a struggle, you know, but just never know till you try.
Yeah.
You never know till you try. So somebody might be out here needing an original and they'll hit you up. So and again, thank you for doing this. This is almost it's almost been like 45 minutes already. Like this is wild. This has been great. So
I
thank you
very
for
much
doing
enjoyed this.
it. Yeah. I got a few more questions for you. So you mentioned a little bit earlier how if you're one of your things to avoid burnout is maybe you'll pick something else up. But how do you know when a project is actually complete or can it always be worked on?
I think it depends on the projects. Most of mine can pretty much indefinitely be worked on, but I do think that there can be a time where you can step back and be like, okay, this
Hmm.
is done. Like you reach a point in a painting where you're like, I don't see where I need to put any more anything.
Yeah.
There isn't anything that I feel is lacking. And with knitting and crocheting, there tends to be more of a definitive end to it.
Hmm.
Um, you can only make a shawl so big and make it work for you. You can only make a scarf so long and make it work for you. Same thing with a blanket.
Hmm.
But I think that there is ways of there are people who do um, random acts of like knitting and crocheting where they'll knit around a tree
Oh yeah, I
and
love that.
just and it's amazing to me and it's I find that sometimes it just go and do
Yeah.
is the best way to do that
Right.
for burnout. And I think that I don't know if anything will ever truly be done, completed to a point where you can sit back and be like, I am 100% happy with that. You're always going to look at it and be like, I could add this and I could do
Right.
this and I could, tweak it here. So,
Hmm. Yeah. And that's the perfectionist in me too. I'm like, oh, I could do more here. I could do this again now. Like,
yep.
wait, one more time, I'll erase it and I'll do it over here. And then sometimes I've ended up fucking up paintings like that. Or whatever. I'm like, oh, now this big blob here. Like, should just left it. Like, so yeah.
Huge knot of yarn where it's just like, and that was supposed to be like a blanket, and now it is just a nest of yarn.
Right. That is funny. Well, that's interesting that you mentioned the like yarn bombing and stuff. Like that would be so cool. I need you to knit me like a huge, I don't know, something so I can go put it somewhere. Like I love doing yarn murals. Like this one, this one.
I've seen some of yours, and they're so much fun to look at.
Thank you. Yeah, that would be cool. Let's see what else here. Have you ever seen a piece of a fellow artist that made you just say, well, maybe they're going through something, or you could relate to them in some way?
The painting that you did, that I mentioned earlier, the one with the head full of pills,
Hmm.
I remember seeing that when you and I were just chatting and instantly knew what that was and what that painting was. And I remember
Hmm.
bringing it up to you and you were like, yeah, that's exactly what was going on. And it was very clear that it was just you were going through things
Yeah.
and it had to do with whatever medication you were on or you needed to take or
Hmm.
something like that. And it was one of the first times I've ever seen an actual painting where I've been like, oh, that
Yeah.
person is working through an issue.
Hmm. Yeah. That was so interesting that you mentioned that painting, because again, that was a really um, it was a huge transition in my life. Like, I have been, as you stated, like on just different medication for depression and all types of stuff, and it was just crazy, like just overwhelming. And then you get off of those things, and I don't know if you've ever come in contact with someone who's been on antidepressants or anything like that, but it's totally like it like a shell of yourself almost, or it's to the point where it's so overwhelming, where it feels like, these, are you having this feeling, or is it these medications or whatever? So it's very hard to differentiate. So I'm glad to not have to deal with stuff like that anymore. But yes, it was definitely a big thing.
Yeah, and I know someone who's been on antidepressants for quite a while, and it took time for them to find one where they didn't feel that way, that where it wasn't they were a shell of who they were and they didn't feel like they were just numb.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, man. Some powerful stuff for sure. So, I'm going to ask you one more question. And again, thank you so much for this. I'm going to ask you to name my piece. And I'm going to ask you, what do you think, what advice would you give to people who are like, I'm not creative at all? What would you tell them? How can they fit this into their lives?
I think everybody is creative. It's no one, there is no one who just sits and doesn't have any sort of creativity run through them, whether it's you have a story running through your brain that you can't get out of your head that you want to write down, whether it's
Mhm.
painting or knitting and crocheting, whether it's singing, whether it's creating music. It's for the people who feel that there is no creativity in them. It's where do you find your passion? What makes you, when you see a movie or when you hear music, does that make you go yes?
Mhm.
My mood is better. I am happier. I am energized. If you are, that's where your creativity is. If you love reading and you have a vivid imagination, try writing. You may not, your first thing you write may be the worst thing ever, but if you
Right.
keep at it, you could write something that changes somebody else's life.
Mhm.
So I think saying you're not creative
Oh wait, I think I lost the sound. Go
to
ahead.
back my
Okay, no problem.
uh I think it's an easy way to just be like, I don't want to try.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. I think that it's honestly that we as humans, well, me personally, take ourselves too seriously, and just everything has to be like this and like that person and like this person did it. Like, you're not, nobody's the same at all in any form, shape, or form. Like, yeah, we have similarities, but there's a lot of things that make you different. So
Yes.
you gotta know that you gotta move different too. Don't be afraid to live your own experiences. That's what I would say. Stop being so serious. Have fun. That's what I would say.
Yes.
Definitely. So, what would you call this piece? What would you name this piece if you could call it anything?
Star on Earth.
Say it again.
Star on Earth.
Okay, I like
Because it
that.
kind of looks like a star crash landed into the
Yeah,
ground.
I like that. Okay. Star on Earth. Okay. That's so cool. And you have to send me a picture of your scarf
Yes.
because I feel like it matches Star
Yep.
on Earth.
Yep.
So that's so cool. Definitely. Well, thank you again, Jennifer. Thank you so much. Is there anything that you would like to say or share with us? Anything on mental health and creativity?
Oh, first off, thank you very much for having me on here. And secondly, go find your passion.
Yeah,
So I think I'm 39 and it took me until I was like 37 to really start fleshing out here's what I would like to do for the rest of my life. And
yeah,
so finding that passion can take a while, but once you find it, go for it.
definitely. Yes, indeed. And don't be afraid of that
Yep.
change. It's a beautiful thing.
Yep.
The end of that for sure. Thank you again, Jennifer. It's been a pleasure as always. And I'll be speaking to you soon. And
Yes.
everybody out there, see you guys next week. Peace, love, and paint. Bye.
Bye all.